Hello everybody and welcome to Organian's Puzzle Box. In today's video, I wanted to do something for the NVIDIA crowd. So basically people who have a 3 series, even a second series and a 4 series especially, can take advantage of DLSS, DLAA technology and also frame generation. Now, if you have the 4 series, you'll be able to use DLSS 3.0 and also the frame generation features. And I would like to show you how to get this interface that you can see behind me that gives you real-time data of what the DLSS does to your actual performance. So that's really important because you can actually check it out real time. You can use it, you can improve your performance in Unreal Engine. I'll show you the limitations of how this functions and what it does and how it can help you, and also how to set up the interface, which I think a lot of people have no clue how to do it, and you don't even know if it's actually working. Whenever you bring the plugin and you start using it, you have no idea if it's working if you don't have this interface. Unfortunately, Unreal Engine itself, the interface does not provide you any information apart from what I'm showing you behind, and only if you know how to do it. Now, William, a very good creator, a very prominent creator in the Unreal Engine crowd, has got a video which I'm going to link in the description below, where he covers a lot of the settings of NVIDIA, of this technology. So please watch his video if you want to learn more about technology itself. For me here, I'm gonna do some comparison between with or without, or all the settings and what they do, and also how to set up this this interface. So if you don't know if this video is for you, trust me, it is, especially if you have an NVIDIA card, because there's a lot of information in here that could really help you. So let's not delay it any further, and let's just open the project and start playing around with the settings. As you can see, the project behind me right here, this is running right now with that sort of performance enhancement, and it's running at 60 FPS on a 4090 with, you know, pretty much cranked up settings to the maximum. That's really good, and we could get better performance, or we could get lower performance and better image quality if we want. But let's not delay it any further, and let's start the tutorial. Alright guys, let's jump straight into Unreal Engine, and I've got a project in 5.2 here. This is a project that I'm working on as a, well, actually very important project. But what I needed in this project was the ability to be able to see the scene at the, you know, the highest sort of fidelity in terms of FPS and in terms of even render times and things like that. I wanted to improve it. So with this in mind, since I have an RTX card, the idea was, why not use the DLSS feature, which obviously NVIDIA have now added the 3.0 for Unreal Engine 5.2, and I believe it's for 5.1 as well. So this is the computer spec that I've got. So the RTX 4090 is running on this computer. As you can see, a lot of the memory is actually filled from the scene that I'm running, this Unreal Engine scene. And the CPU that I've got is a 13 Gen i7 there, right? But the GPU is what's important in this particular scene. Now, what I've got it already set up, and we're running on cinematic settings in here. The DLSS doesn't actually function in the viewport, so this is quite a you know, it's not great, but it is what it is. So effectively you will not get a DLSS performance in the viewport. Instead, what you need to do is come up here once you've installed the plugin, which I will show you how to do, but I'm just going to show you the performance gains. So when you click these dots over here, you've got an option where it says new editor window PYE, right? So that's actually the mode you want to run it, or you can actually create a standalone game, and again that will be the same thing. But if your scene is within this viewport, the DLSS will not function in here. Actually, I can even show you. So if I do selected viewport, and this will start playing over here, the interface that I will show you how to set up for DLSS will show us that there is actually nothing being sort of processed by it. So we're looking at it right now. You can see in here frame rate 0, the DLSS is on, but there's nothing is going on. And this is the interface that we've got. So let me just cancel that and instead switch over to the PYI window, which is the new editor window in here. And you will notice that now, with that in mind, we will get the interface that we want, you know, the interface within that, and it's also functioning. So let me just bring that over here and try and make the window a bit smaller. Just a second now. I'm just literally trying to drag it. There we go. So I'm going to put that like that into the full screen. Okay, so we can see in here that we're now getting 27 FPS with this, and it's got, I'm going to switch this resolution to this, and it's got the NVIDIA DLSS on, and it's set on to quality, and we are getting 29 FPS right now in this particular scene. Okay, now watch what is going to happen if I switch from quality to ultra performance. I'm now getting 40 50 FPS, but obviously the DLSS is not great. The resolution is not that good. So I'm going to put that back to quality from here. So quality, I could do DLA, which will reduce my performance because it's now upscaling the image to look a lot better. DLA is like kind of the opposite of DLSS. It sort of improves the image quality at the cost of performance. So if I put that to quality, so it's now in DLSS mode, then this is the performance, right? But if I also enable frame gen, which is something only supported by the 4 series, so I do that, and now you can see it's jumped up to 50 FPS or 45 to 50. So that's effectively almost doubled the FPS by just doing frame generation on quality settings. And if I put this to a DLAA, it's going to go to like 36, 38, so still pretty good performance. Now bear in mind, you know, on 4090 they should be able to run the scene quite well, shouldn't it, right? But what you need to understand is that when you actually package the game, the performance will improve, right? But right now in this particular scene, you know, it's not going to get any better on this card unless you have like better specs than what I do. You can also enable reflex, which should improve the inputs, but that won't you know, matter too much on the performance side. You can also see the developer stats in here if you want to check that out, and also we can work on the sharpness, so we can actually increase the sharpness of the image, and you can see that that's really cool. And you know, we could go overboard with this, which will look a bit, well, not too good. So yeah, I'll leave it probably around there. But we can also change into the NVIDIA image scaling, and that is giving us 40 FPS, obviously with frame gen on, if not with just 22. And then we can again do performance mode of this, which is going to give us 50 FPS with the frame gen on, or we can do ultra quality, which is going to give us about 42. I would say DLAA is probably better than NVIDIA image scaling, but you know, it's really up to you and really testing it out. Now, let me just switch over to the built-in function, which is just TAA. So that's the Unreal Engine. So that's at 38 FPS with frame gen on. If we decrease that, it's going to be 20. But we could also do, we could do in here resolution scale. So let's just activate frame gen and then just increasing our resolution scale to like a 200% with frame gen. It's about 20 FPS, so it's not really great at 200%, and actually the entire performance of the computer has dropped. So we'll switch that over to DLSS quality frame gen. This is now improving. Actually, yeah, there we go. Now it's fine. And now let's just show you another part of the scene, which should be interesting to watch as well. Okay, and I'm gonna press play over here. Again, this will open the Pi editor. So let's just wait for that to sort of load, and we are now inside a jungle. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna enable frame gen, reflex as well, and we're getting about 30 FPS in this environment. So the FPS is lower than out there in the grasslands, but there's, you know, a lot more detail within the scene in here than what we saw there in the grassland. We've got so many more assets in here at the same time. So I'm also gonna, I think this resolution doesn't really matter in here. I'm not sure, but I don't think the resolution works unless you go like into a built version of this. So you can see that the details in this scene are spectacular, and just how the way it sort of works. I mean, I could put this on DLAA, which would give us an even better look. So I think for rendering, this is really cool to do it this way. Now, one thing, the way that you'd sort of use the performance gain with this DLSS for, you know, like in a render in Unreal Engine. Let me just show you how that sort of functions. So let me just get out of here a bit. So sometimes for me, when I render in Unreal Engine, if I get really bad performance in the render queue, what I mean by this is like when the render comes out, it's like missing meshes or things like that. It could be because your computer is not fast enough to load up those details if the camera, for example, is moving very quickly in the scene. So if I go into, let me just go into the content. I'm trying to get, I want to get to my cinematic so I can get the sequencer. There we go, we got the sequencer in here. So when you press this button over here to render in the movie render queue, so doesn't work in the movie scene capture legacy one. This works in the movie render queue. It's a plugin that you can enable in any Unreal Engine from 4.6, I believe, till now. So when you accept that, you're going to have a setting in here with a config. So if you press that to edit it, from the plus button here, you can actually add the DLSS, DLAA function. So when you add that, you can then set it up to whatever you need so that it improves the performance when you render the scene. And obviously, if you use DLAA, you're going to get the best looking image, but at the cost of performance. Ultra quality doesn't work for some reason. Maybe it will work in future versions, but then you can use quality or DLAA or obviously anything here in terms of performance. So if you do this, you'll get faster render time, but a lower image quality. So that's how you sort of do that. But it's now for us, it's time for us to sort of do the setup of this, which is quite quick. I'll show you in a new project, so it's not. This is already set up, but I'll show you in a new project what you need to do and where you can get this from. Obviously, the link in the description below where you can download this as well. Okay, so here we are. All we would need to do is either in Microsoft Bing or Google, just search for NVIDIA DLSS Unreal Engine 5.2. And pretty much the first link in here will be the DLSS 3 plugin. So if you press that link, it will take you to this, but actually we'll open this to begin with, which is like a showcase of what that does. And over in here, you have, further down here, you have DLSS 3 frame generation. So if you click that, it will now load this page, which is this one. Anyway, so on this page, it will tell you some things about DLSS 3. It will give you options to look at DLSS 2 and so on. But further down here, you will have an option to download it. So where it says, this part here, NVIDIA DLSS Unreal Engine 3, you have to agree to the terms, and once you do that, it will allow you to download it. Now, once you download it, obviously in the folder of your choice, you will be able to sort of extract it and copy the contents. So let me just sort of do that now. So I've got it in here. I can sort of extract it like I've said. So extracting it, yes to all, because I've got it already extracted. Once that's done, I've got this folder, and it will have these sort of files, these folders inside the folder that we've just extracted. And then you need to go to your Unreal Engine download, wherever you've installed the engine itself, because you're going to have to copy the tool. So in the Unreal Engine folder, in here, you'll go to the engine folder, and then you'll go to the plugin folder. And in here is where you can drop the contents found in here. So you've got to make sure that you get all of these, all 4 of these, and you copy them all in here. I've already copied them, so I don't need to do that, but just so you know. Now, once that is done, you will then open your Unreal Engine project, and I've already got one open in here. And once it's opened, you go to Edit, into Plugins, and then in here, type in DLSS, and this will give you some options. Now, it's very important that you activate all 3 of these. So you can see in here for the movie render queue, for frame generation, and the super resolution. But there's also, I would actually, instead of typing DLSS, I would recommend you type in NVIDIA, because this will also give you NVIDIA NIS, which is very important that you activate. So once you do that, just start activating all of these. So you can do reflex as well. Obviously you can do any of these that you want, but effectively it's the NIS, the frame generation, the DLAA, and you'll notice the DLSS is not being shown, which is a bit of a pain, but if you type in DLSS, you'll be able to add that as well, which is also important to do. Otherwise, you'll get errors when you're trying to get the interface, and also the DLSS function will not work correctly. So once you do that, you've got to restart the engine, and once the restart is done, it'll probably do some shader compiling, it really depends, then you're able to actually activate the DLSS functions. So I'm going to restart, and then we'll meet back in here once we've done that. Okay, we're now back in the project, and it didn't actually have to do any shader compilation, which is great. But we've got it, and now we need to bring in the interface. So in order for us to properly see the frame generation and the DLSS and all that working, because there's no indication really that you've got it. So if you look around here, there's nothing that tells you that you've got DLSS. You could go in the movie sequencer, which that should tell you if you can add the, the function, the DLSS, DLA. But if you want to see it live actually working in here, then in the folder that we had from NVIDIA, so let me just get that really quickly in here. Okay, so in here, in the folder, you've got a samples folder. So you double click that, and you got DLSS 3 test. So with that, you just double click it to open the project. This will open a new Unreal Engine editor, which is important. It's good that you have both opened. So once you have it open, let me just bring it over in here, okay? And in this project in here, they've already done the work for you. You just need to copy paste the work from here into your own project. So if you click up here on this button and you open the level blueprint, you'll notice that they actually have some work done in here, and it's all this stuff that you're seeing, right? The add BPW NGX UI stuff in here, right? This is actually the stuff that you want to copy. So I'm going to select all of this. This is what's going to load up the blueprints, right? But right now there are, this blueprint BPW NGX doesn't actually exist within your project. So the first thing you want to do is press this button over here, which will open the content browser. And this content browser, let me just make it bigger over here. This is in the project that we've opened, the sample from NVIDIA. So you can see in here in contents, we've got map, cinematics, and blueprints. What we need is just the blueprints. So right click the blueprints, select migrate, and then you want to migrate, press OK, and you want to migrate all of this into the project of the whatever, whatever this is. So for me to quickly get here, I'm just going to right click, show in Explorer. This will open a new Explorer window. So I can go into the content folder of this project, control copy, copy the path of that project, go back into the other one, which is here where I'm trying to migrate, copy, paste that link to the project that I'm trying to copy this file to, select folder, and then it would migrate the blueprint folder. That's great. So we've done that. Now we can actually come in here into the level blueprint, select all of this, and then right click and select copy, and we can go into the real biomes. This is the project that I've got. So in here I can actually click this button over here and then open the level blueprint, and with that opened I can actually paste the files that we just copied, which is this, right? And now I can link, I believe it was let's just double check, it was the event begin play that we need to bring in. So event begin play, connect it over here, and you'll notice we don't actually have the blueprint selected. So we're going to have to click that, and let's have a look at the other project, the blueprint that was called BPW NGX. So that's what we need to bring in here, BPW NGX, and then we can compile. Now I'm going to press this magnifying glass to find that and double click it, just to ensure. So I've just opened it, just to ensure that there are no problems, no errors for compilation or anything like that. So I'm going to click the graph button in here, and you'll notice there are no issues whatsoever, no errors. Now, if you wouldn't have enabled in the plugin folder, if you wouldn't have enabled the NIS, this one in here, then you would get errors. If you wouldn't have enabled anything that we've enabled previously in here, then you would have gotten an error when loading up that interface. Now make sure over here you are setting the new editor window, PYI, rather than just the viewport, and then we can press the play button, which will open a new window with the interface of the NVIDIA and DLSS. So you can see it's now running. Let me just set up really quickly in here, frame generation, reflex, and then I'm putting this on quality, and I'm getting 60 FPS in here, which is really cool. And I can actually set up the DLA to get a bit less FPS but more quality, so that looks really good. You can see it's working because it's obviously recording information, and that's really the only true real way of knowing that this works. So that's really how you do it. That's, you know, I hope this has been a very, I know I've been obviously explaining quite a bit here because I wanted to make sure that you guys really get the most out of it and you're able to use this interface and the technology from NVIDIA in the proper way. And yeah, so you know, you don't get this, well, you don't lose yourself within this, really. And that's really it from me, guys. What can I say? I think the technology is really great. I think it will only improve. I think if you want to be at the forefront of this, and if you want to actually test your game using DLSS, DLAA, and so on technology, then this is the way to go. I hope you guys learned something today. If you want to support the channel, please feel free to have a look at my projects on Patreon, ArtStation, and Gumroad. Buy me a coffee if you'd like. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the content. A huge thank you to my Patreon people and the Creo members and the YouTube members. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you everybody for watching. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Enjoy.